Today in our 2014 Ford Edge, we'll be having a look at and installing the Roadmaster Universal High-Powered Diode Wiring Kit, part number RM-152. Alright, with our diodes installed behind our taillights on our Edge, when we're flat towing our vehicle behind our motorhome, we can use the vehicle's existing taillights and brake lights without having to worry about having magnetic tow lights installed in the vehicle or drilling into our taillight assemblies and using an additional bulb and socket. We'll be able to utilize what's already on the vehicle from the factory. Now, what's great about the diodes is they only allow electricity to flow in one direction. So when we're having the vehicle being towed behind the RV, we don't have to worry about any voltage being backfed into our vehicle's expensive electronic systems causing damage. This will protect our vehicle's components and utilize the bulbs that are already in place. Now that we've gone over some features, we'll show you how to get it installed. And to begin our install, we'll show you where we have routed our 4-way flat wiring right here. In addition to that, this red wire here is for a charge line kit. Now the reason you want a charge line is if you're using a portable braking system which plugs into the power outlet of your vehicle when you're flat towing. We taped it up, used the wire loom that comes with the kit. We did this when we had the fascia off so we could hide it behind the fascia easily when we installed our base plate. It goes through our grill behind it, then comes out through a hole in our core support where our hood latch release cable goes through. We'll start by separating our 4-pole flat wire so it's separate just like our charge wire. Okay, and when we're separating it, if any of our wire became exposed like this one, we'll just clip it off past the exposed part and we'll make all the rest of ours even with that. And we'll strip back the insulation from all 5 of our wires. Now our wires are going to go into a 6-pole round connector. This is a Pollock one, which we have available on our website as part number PK12720. We'll slide the dust cover on off of our connector and we'll slide that back over our wires. We'll start with our ground wire on our connection. That's the one marked GD. We'll loosen the set screw on up and we'll use the white wire for that and we'll tighten the set screw on up. Now we'll do our tail light and marker light. That's the one marked TM. And that'll get our brown wire. Okay, we'll do our charge line next. It's the one that has an A with an arrow pointing for it. That stands for auxiliary. And that gets our red wire. Okay, now we'll do our right turn signal. That goes to the terminal marked RT. That'll get our green wire. Okay, last but not least, our left turn signal. And that gets our yellow wire. And that goes to the terminal marked LT. Okay, now we'll take some dielectric grease, which we have available on our website, and we'll just flood the back side of this connector here, and this will help prevent any corrosion buildup that could potentially occur, especially if any moisture were to somehow get inside. Now we'll slide our dust cover back and on over, and then we'll tape it in place and cover up the rest of our wires here with some electrical tape. Alright, so we'll just wrap around the end. And by doing this, we won't have any colored wires hanging out behind our grill, and we can help prevent moisture from getting inside. Now we'll attach our 6-pole connector to the prongs that are provided on our base plate using the self-tapping screws that came with our base plate. That gives us a nice solid mount. All right, now that we have our wire connected to our 6-pole connector in the front of the vehicle, and this is where it ended up in our engine bay, we routed to the side of our battery here next to our fuse box, back behind the battery, and then down the firewall. We'll pick up underneath and show you how we ran it to the back. Now when we route this wire, we want to make sure we avoid any moving parts or sources of heat. Comes down along our firewall here. I have it zip tied away from our steering shaft because this part does rotate when we turn our steering wheel. We don't want it to get chafed against that and get a nick in the wiring. use a couple zip ties. We go over this brace for our subframe, and it goes underneath this panel here, all the way back, exits to the driver's side of our gas tank, and then we have it secured with a zip tie to our parking brake cable here. Goes up, secured to a wiring harness here, goes over our rear subframe, and then we have it zip tied up to this exhaust hanger on our driver's side. This will keep it far enough away from the exhaust that we don't have to worry about any heat damage. Now we'll open our rear hatch. And now we'll remove our taillight assemblies. We have two 8mm screws on each side to remove. Then we can grab the taillight and pull it on back. Now we'll unplug our connector simply by pushing in on this black tab here and pulling back. We'll do the same on the other side. Now we'll take a pull wire, which is using a piece of airline tubing here. Something that's flexible but yet still somewhat rigid will work fine. We'll go down in this gap between the fascia and the body of the vehicle, and it will come out underneath. Okay, here's our pull wire where it comes down. Now on our 4-pole flat wire, we'll separate the green wire from the other 3 wires. So let's pull it back. Okay, with our green wire separated now, we will take our other 3 wires onto our pull wire with some electrical tape. All right, we'll pull our wires on up now. Okay, now we'll separate our 3 wires, just like we did with the green one. Okay, our white wire is our ground wire. We just need to make an attachment to the vehicle's sheet metal with this wire. So we'll measure off how much we're going to need, cut off the excess, strip back the insulation a little bit, take our ring terminal that comes with the kit, stick it onto the wire, and crimp it down. Okay, now we'll attach our ring terminal to this flat surface right here below the grommet where the wires come through. Okay, that gives us a great, nice solid ground right there. Okay, we went ahead and removed the electrical tape covering our wires in about a 6-inch section. This way we have a spot to make our connections. We have our headlights turned on, and we're going to determine which one of our 6 wires here is for our taillights. We'll test every single one to make sure there's not a duplicate wire. Okay, so it's the bottom one over here to this side, and that corresponds to the yellow wire with the green stripe right here. So we'll pull this one out separate from the rest and shut our headlights off right now. Now we'll cut this wire right in the middle of where we strip back and strip out the insulation from both ends. And we'll attach the blue spade connectors onto both ends of those wires. Take one of our diode packs. The side on the connector end will go to the output side. The other end closest to the vehicle will go towards one of the inputs. It doesn't matter which one. Now we'll measure off some brown wire, cut off the excess. We'll hang on to the excess, and we'll strip back one end from it and one end that we pulled up, and we'll twist the two together. And we'll stick that inside our yellow spade connector and crimp that on. And that'll go towards the other input side of our diode. Okay, now we have someone stepping on the brake pedal for us so we can determine which one of our wires is for our brake lights. We're going to use our brake light bulb as our turn signal bulb here. because we're treating our vehicle like a trailer. That's this bottom one here, off to this side. That corresponds to the other yellow wire with the green stripe. So we'll pull that one off to the side, and we'll shut off our brake lights now. Okay, we'll cut that one in the middle as well. Strip it back. And crimp on our blue spake terminals again. Diode pack, again, the output side goes towards our connector. And we'll go to one of the inputs, doesn't matter which one. Yellow wire, measure off how much we're going to need here. Cut back the excess. Strip it back. And use a blue spake connector on this. Crimp it on down. And go to the other input side in our diode pack. And the brown wire that we added, we're going to need to extend this a little bit. So we'll use some brown wire that we have laying around. You can get some on our website as part number 16-1-1. It's sold by the foot. I would say order about 10 feet and you'll be fine, so order a quantity of 10. Okay, we'll strip out the installation from our brown wires now. We'll use a heat shrink butt connector for 14 to 16 gauge wires. We have these available on our website, and we'll combine our two wires together. This will give us the added length that we're looking for. Now we'll use a heat gun, which we also have available on our website, to shrink down our butt connector. You'll want to use a heat gun over a lighter because it's an indirect source of heat and not direct flame. It won't damage the butt connector. Okay, we have our brown wire attached to our pull wire again. Now we're gonna go down the same way. We're just gonna pull it out from the bottom versus pulling it out from the top.
Okay, we went ahead and routed our green and brown wire that we extended over towards our passenger side. We have it zip tied up to a wiring harness here, and it's just resting on our exhaust right now on the passenger side. Once we pull it on up via our pull wire that we drop down, that'll take up the slack and get it off the exhaust. And now we'll pull those wires on up.
All right, now we're gonna test on our passenger side which wire is for our taillight wire. Make sure we test all of them, make sure when we have one wire, and we do. So that is this yellow wire with the green stripe. We'll separate that off to the side. Turn our headlights off and we'll make our connections. All right, so we'll cut that wire in the middle. Strip back our insulation. Place on our spade connectors again. Diode pack, output side always towards the connector. Brown wire. Measure off how much we're going to need. Strip it on back. Place on our connector. Crimp it on down. And the final input side on our diode pack. Now we'll have someone step on the brakes again. Test our wires again. Okay, that's our other yellow wire with a green stripe. Okay, with those on, we'll place the final diode pack into place. And our last connection is with our green wire. Cut off our excess. Okay, now we'll take the double-sided tape off one of the diode packs and we'll stick it on top of the other one. This will help hold them together and conserve room behind our tail light. We'll do the same on the other side. Now we'll plug our taillights back in and reinstall them. Okay, now we're going to test our wiring. We're using our Tow Doctor trailer tester here. We have these available on our website. The reason we want to use one of these versus hooking up to your RV is because if you have a problem with the RV, you won't know if your wiring is working properly in the vehicle or not. If your RV is new, you should be able to hook up to it and not have any issues. You'll be able to test your wiring that way. So we'll start off by using our right brake light. Okay, as you can see here, it's working. We'll do our left brake light now. That one's working as well. And now we'll do our tail lights. Okay, that's working too. That completes our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Universal High Power Diode Wiring Kit, part number RM-152 on our 2014 Ford Edge.